Hello and welcome. We are so happy you're joining us today. I'm Amy Weber, the Creative Residency Program Manager at Bloedel Reserve. The Creative Residency Program was established to allow creative thinkers to explore and experience critical connection between nature and the creative process. Occasionally, we will invite an alumni of the program, as Andrea Clearfield is, to return to Bloedel as a fellow to work on a specific project which is deeply tied to nature. To learn more about the Creative Residency Program, you can find it at bloedelreserve.org. The event today will be about 50 minutes long, followed by a question and answer period. You may enter your questions into the YouTube chat. Our moderator will collect the questions and share as many as possible during the time period at the end of the program. Before I introduce Andrea, I want to thank Ken Matsudera, Kate Henderson, and Quincy Blackman and Bainbridge Island Museum of Art for going above and beyond with the production of this event and helping us bring it to you. I also want to thank the supporters of Bloedel Creative Residency Program, especially the Fletcher Bay Foundation for making this program possible. Andrea Clearfield is an award-winning composer of music for opera, orchestra, chorus, chamber ensemble, dance, and multimedia collaborations. She creates deep, emotive musical languages that build cultural and artistic bridges on themes ranging from nature, mythology, ancient religions, and technology to environmental and social issues. Clearfield has been praised for her skillful and impactful compositional mastery by multiple publications, from the New York Times and Philadelphia Inquirer to the LA Times and Opera News. Her catalog of 160 works includes 15 large-scale cantatas, including one for the Philadelphia Orchestra. More recent works are inspired by the Tibetan music fieldwork that she conducted in the Nepalese Himalaya, including her opera on the life of the venerated Tibetan saint Milarepa. She is the appointed composer in residence for 2020 through 2023 with national concerts at Carnegie Hall. Andrea is also the founder, curator, and host of the renowned Philadelphia Salon Concert Series, featuring contemporary, classical, jazz, electronic, dance, and world music, now celebrating its 35th season. Learn more about Andrea and her work and her upcoming premieres at andreaclearfield.com. I've really enjoyed the past few weeks getting to know Andrea on the Reserve and sharing some of the incredible moments of beauty that are to be had while immersed at the Reserve. And I'm going to turn it over to Andrea now to tell us more about the process of working with nature and her collaboration with Ariana Kramer in the creation of Transformed by Fire.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's been a great joy and an honor to have been selected as a Bloedel Reserve Fellow. I've fallen in love with Bloedel's magical gardens, trees, moss, waters, blooms, and walks, and having this incredible opportunity to return, to live and compose on the grounds for a month, immersed in nature. All I can say is it's been transformative for me. I'm so deeply grateful to you and the staff for creating such a conducive and inspiring place for artists, and I'm grateful to the Bainbridge Island Museum of Art for all of their help putting this presentation together. I'm going to speak about the piece that I've been working on here at Bloedel Reserve. You'll hear from my poet collaborator, Ariana Kramer, and then the wonderful musicians with us will perform some excerpts in progress for you. Ariana and I were grateful to have been awarded an Aldo and Estella Leopold writing residency in 2017. As part of the residency, I lived and composed in the 1912 cabin that Aldo Leopold built for his fiancée, Estella. This is a photo that I took of the cabin when I was living there. The program is now celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Named Mi Casita, owned by the U.S. Forest Service and managed by the Leopold Writing Program, the cabin sits in front of a large area of boulders and forest land in northern New Mexico. The retreat was designed to provide space for writers and thinkers, I was the first composer, who are interested in a contemporary re-envisioning of the relationship between humans and the natural world, not unlike the Bloedel Creative Residency, which is why it's so perfect to be here to continue work on this project. Ariana and I were interested in Aldo Leopold's changing perception of wolves and the event that became the catalyst for that change. In his essay on wolves and deforestation, Thinking Like a Mountain, he describes how as a youth full of trigger itch, he shot a mother wolf. She was so close that he could see the green fire fading in her eyes. He was haunted by those eyes for 35 years as he rethought the role of wolves in the ecosystem. I'd like to show a video that Ariana has prepared for us about her experience in writing the text for this work.
Hello, my name is Ariana Kramer, and I welcome you into my living room here in Taos, New Mexico. I wanted to speak with you a little bit about Transformed by Fire, a collaborative poetic musical piece that Andrea Clearfield and I have been working on since 2017, when we were awarded a Leopold Writing Program residency. And I began researching the story of Aldo Leopold and a wolf, his encounter with a mother wolf and her pups, which he wrote about in his essay, Thinking Like a Mountain. And that essay appears in a Sand County Almanac by Aldo Leopold. And he wrote the essay towards the end of his life in reflection upon a story that he lived through as a young man. And that story is of his encounter with a mother wolf and her pups in the Arizona mountains, high desert mountains, and how he was changed by that interaction. At the time, he believed that wolves were problematic and that they should be exterminated. And so he and his friends he was hiking with shot into the pack of wolves. And he wrote about watching the fierce green fire die in the mother wolf's eyes. So that fire is the fire in Transformed by Fire. And the transformation that we speak about is the transformation of Aldo Leopold, and also the transformation of the ecology of our earth, and in particular of the landscapes which the wolf has historically and still does in some cases occupy. One of the things that I learned in my research, and I read many books about Aldo Leopold and his family, as well as his career and his teachings in ecology. I also read about wolves, wolf families, and learned more about them. And one of the things that I was really touched by is how Leopold's family, which was large, he had 5 children with his wife, Estella, and they were very close with one another. And in fact, all 5 children ended up having careers in conservation or related areas. And they also all were hunters and loved to fish and loved to spend time outdoors. So as I was researching the wolves, the culture of wolves, I learned how similar to the Leopolds they are, in that they have very strong familial bonds with one another. They are considered to be the strongest among mammals, and even stronger than humans. They sing together, as the Leopolds did. They play together, and they hunt and fish together, and certainly explore the nature where they live. And so that is one of the things that I emphasized in the writing. And I also emphasized this idea of fire, the fire that was in the wolf's eyes, which Leopold speaks about very directly in his essay, Thinking Like a Mountain. And he also, I think, speaks about it when he teaches about the circuit of life energy that passes through plants and animals and all of life. He wrote about food webs and predator-prey relations and the transfer of energy from one form of life to another. And I think that he saw that as a living, pulsing quality that we share, and that is like the fire that was in the wolf's eyes. So that is another theme that comes through in the poetry, and which Andrea has emphasized in the musical composition. Our vision for this piece is that it will be a work that can be heard by general audiences, and we hope that it's something that can be brought into schools, into colleges and high schools and community settings for people to hear. And it's a piece that combines science and poetry and music. So it's a combination of science and the arts, and I think it speaks to our intellect, our thinking, our hearts, our emotions, and our hope is that it will spur conversation and greater understanding in terms of people's understanding of ecology and people's understanding of wolves and of ourselves. As many of you probably know, wolves are facing a very difficult time right now. They were delisted under the Endangered Species Act, and they are being hunted quite fiercely in parts of the country. And this is after decades, a decades-long extermination policy by the US government that was in place, and which Aldo Leopold saw the effects of. So he spoke in his essay as well of wolfless habitat and what he saw as the problem with that. And so we try to, touch on all these pieces in Transformed by Fire, and hope to spark curiosity and understanding and interest. And I thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope that I will be able to join you a little later on for a Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you for making the video, Ariana, and I'm glad that you're online and you will hopefully be able to address questions during the Q&A. Leopold was considered one of the fathers of modern ecology, along with Henry David Thoreau and John Muir. Leopold's idea of land ethics speaks of a holistic view of the land we live on and the necessity of studying its ecosystem and history. To think like a mountain means to have a complete appreciation for the profound interconnectedness of the elements in the ecosystem, said Leopold. Ariana wrote an evocative 12-movement poetry cycle that explores not only Leopold's experience, but also that of the wolf. Man encounters wolf, wolf encounters man. While at Aldo Leopold's cabin in 2017, I wrote music for 5 of those movements. I came here to Bloedel Reserve as a creative fellow in 2019 and wrote several more. Last year, I completed a cantata for chorus with 8 movements, and I found out today that that will be premiered on April 12th with the Florida State University Singers under the direction of Kevin Fenton. This time, I've written additional movements and scored excerpts for local musicians to perform for you today. As Ariana mentioned, we believe in the educational possibilities of this work as a way to demonstrate through the arts a story of personal transformation that continues to resonate and expand as we look at what land ethics might mean today. There's a reference to Leopold and to Thoreau and even Bloedel in the text of one of the movements you will hear today. Knowing each hill, each valley. Thoreau walked every day in all weather and times of day, journaling every detail in nature, what he saw, smelled, heard, and thought, as did Leopold, who kept meticulous journals. People were encouraged and invited here at Bloedel Reserve to walk and be mindful, to write in a journal, to watch and feel and listen, to become aware and awake to the beauty that surrounds us. Prentice Bloedel, who created the Bloedel Reserve Gardens, writes, "Man is not set apart from the rest of nature. He is just a member of that incredibly diverse population of the universe. Nature can live without man, but man cannot live without nature." Prentice Bloedel came from a timber industry family. He was one of the first to recognize that the timber industry must change towards becoming a more sustainable endeavor. This work is about transformation, a subject that interests me greatly as an artist, as a person, as I'm drawn to what is possible, and specifically the transformation of Aldo Leopold from wolf hunter to wolf conservationist. The music reflects that in a few different ways. There are themes that undergo transformation recurring throughout the work, becoming more discordant as Aldo struggles with the memory of what he's done. You'll hear the first and last movements and several in between excerpts from his evening-length work in progress. I think this little set will give a sense of the whole. You'll hear the first movement introducing the mother wolf. A mother plays at the riverbank, crossing water, her yearlings frolic. She raises her head. The next movement that you'll hear today, family, as Ariana mentions, relates to an earlier section about Leopold and his family, how he loved his children and taught them to hunt and fish. Ariana draws a parallel to the wolf family, which I think is a way of really showing compassion and empathy with the wolves. The movement Consequence is where Aldo Leopold imagines what it would be like in a world without wolves. They are exterminated. I walk in a wolfless wilderness. I see deer dead, thin from starvation. This is followed by Aldo's questioning, relating to what we grapple with in our own times. What have we done to the wilderness? How can we love deer and hate wolf? We are two parts of one whole. In the next movement, Leopold has made the shift in his mind and heart. Wolf belongs to prairie and mountain, to desert and forest. Beloved voice of the wild hosannas, everywhere wolf belongs. I belong with her. The final movement is the essential message at the heart of Leopold's work, interconnectivity. The piece concludes with Ariana's text inspired by Leopold's writing, "Everything on, over, and in the land belongs together," making a large harmonic circle. It was done in Taos, New Mexico with a pop-up chorus placed around the theater. People didn't know there were choral singers sitting next to them, and one by one, they stood up and started to sing. Everything on, over, and in the land belongs together, finally walking to the stage and making a big circle. It was very moving. For those of you here and online, please feel free to sing along with us. I'm pleased to present some of this work in progress for you today, as my personal experience of nature and interconnectedness has deepened being here at Bloedel Reserve. So has the creative process of this piece. I'd love to acknowledge these wonderful local performers, mezzo-soprano Barbara Hume and violist and conductor Mario Torres, for generously providing their time and artistry and care in learning this piece and performing today. I made this arrangement especially for Barbara and Mario. I'll sing some of Aldo's parts, even though it's a baritone line and I'm not a singer, so bear with me. I do sing everything that I write because I believe that the music needs to breathe, and there's a feeling of organicness that comes from singing, even the viola parts. So I'm going to turn things over to Barbara, who would like to just tell you a little bit about her experience in learning this work. Barbara, please.
Thank you, Andrea. This has been a life-changing experience for me. Talk about transformation. I didn't know how I would attack this score with my vocal instrument, but what it was is I just discovered more transformation than I could ever have imagined vocally. And it's been so rewarding. But I'm so grateful for this opportunity to sing this collaboration between Ariana and Andrea and to be here with the two of you on stage. To hear the music's message live is transformational. This collaboration of music and poetry is very much a healing art, I believe, for many to hear. My hope is that anyone watching discover that there is hope yet to save endangered species that are at risk right now as we sing this piece today. The healing arts of music and poetry are essential to healing our earth. My hope is that this piece is sung by many voices and heard by even more ears, so that this hopeful message of our role in biodiversity encourages us to do the necessary work to heal the diverse species that sustain the earth.
Thank you so much, Barbara. And we're going to show an image of a painting that was made by my very gifted friend, Mia Bosna. And this painting has become kind of the image that embodies the essence of this piece. It's Fire Spirit Wolf by Mia Bosna.
Wolf is mother, father, sister, brother. Wolf is not a lumber tumble, not a lumber. Is a playful family running across the land. Which is from the spring.
Reaches back deep into the land, far into memory, deep into the land. We roam, we roam, we roam. Oh, with brother, sister, with brother, sister.
No wolves, hunter's paradise. A foolish thought, foolish thought. From starvation. Too many to trees stripped bare.
I see her eyes. They burn. What have we done? What have we done to the wilderness? What have we done? What have we done to the wilderness? How can we love dear and hate good? What have we done? What have we done to the wilderness? How can they love dear and hate good? What a parts of one whole. What have we done to the wilderness? How can we love dear and hate good? What a parts of one whole. Two parts of one whole. In the early morning hour, what will my children I am in love. I am in love. What belongs to every mountain, to desert and forest. What belongs, beloved voice of the wild rose, I know now. The green flame burns in each of us. Music livens the land like a fragrant Everything on over and in the land belongs together. Everything on over the land belongs together. belongs together. We reached the old wolf in time to watch a fierce green fire dying in her eyes. I realized then, and have known ever since, that there was something new to me in those eyes. Something known only to her and to the mountain. I was young then, and full of trigger itch. I thought that because fewer wolves meant fewer deer, that no wolves would mean hunter's paradise. But after seeing the green fire die, I sensed that neither the wolf nor the mountain agreed with such. A thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. Aldo Leopold. Everything good over and with alone belongs together. Everything over and belongs
We have a little bit of a Q&A. We'll give you this back. Turn it on, yeah.
Bravo.
So could you tell us a little bit about the process between you and
Ariana?
Ariana? Thank you. Sorry, both of you. So between you and Ariana, did you start with the lyrics and the music at the same time? Did the lyrics come first? What was that like?
It was very much of an organic process between us. Ariana started writing the text and she would be sending me drafts as she was writing. I told her that I like to see all the drafts too, so that I can watch it unfold in her eyes through her perspective. And we also, even though I was living at the cabin, the fellowship was for both of us. And so she would come and we would work together. And then we would have rehearsals in the cabin. And You know, if something felt like it needed to be a little bit different to sing better in the voice, we would talk about that and find alternate words. But it was very much of a collaborative process. Ariana's wonderful to work with.
It's always interesting to hear how a collaboration like that comes together. So that's really interesting that it was at the same time. So we also had some interest in the painting up there. Do you have any more insight into the painting and how you came to see it and discover it for yourself?
Oh, do I need to turn this on? Okay. So the painting is by Mia Bosna, who's a wonderful artist. She used to live in Philadelphia. Now she's in North Carolina. And she does a lot of work that one might say is shamanic, you know, that sort of channels transformation and connection between everything in the universe. And when Ariana and I were putting together the final piece, I was looking for an image that might represent the piece, and I saw that Mia had painted this. So the image was already there. It's a painting, and I asked her permission if we could use it. It just feels like, you know, there's something that's so precious.
So, you said that this is kind of a work in progress. So what is the final vision for the work? Is this going to be an orchestral, choral piece? I mean, just what was played was so striking, so just moving. I can't even imagine it with what more you might have planned. So can you inform us a little bit about what might be coming?
Thank you, Kate. Well, as the piece develops, we keep finding new ways to present it. So originally it was 5 movements with baritone and piano and a pop-up choir, and then it became a choral suite. And now I'm realizing that the piece could also, you know, be performed with the choir and the soprano and baritone soloists and a cello as we had originally envisioned. But I think that this version works really beautifully. So I could see it, especially in the educational context, to be able to go to schools and present it as a trio or a quartet with 1 or 2 singers. That could work as well. There's still a few movements that I haven't written yet to complete the evening length cycle. Right now, I think, well, the final piece will be about 50 minutes or a little bit longer.
Well, I will say, being a part of the audience and being invited to join in the last little bit of that did take me back to my choir days. So I could totally see it fitting into it as an educational presentation and having, you know, the kids also be invited to participate. That's always so wonderful. So I'd like to open it up to our audience members or even our performers. Would anybody have a question for
Andrew.
I would almost said Ariana.
Or Ariana, because I believe she's online.
I think we can put her on. Let me just pull a plug back here and then we should be able to see her.
And questions can also be addressed to the performers.
Absolutely. So we're just pulling that up right now. But if you'll. Oh, now we're in a mirror world.
Ariana, are you online?
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
You can.
Great. And I don't think I can start my video. It says I'm waiting for the host to stop the video, but I guess you can see my face anyway, so we can continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for being here with all of us today. It's such a treat to have you both together. And so my first question was about how your collaboration was. Did you have, you probably were listening in on that. Did you have anything to add about that collaboration that you were doing when up in the cabin or wherever it happened?
Sure. But first I want to thank everyone for creating afternoon event. It really was wonderful to watch and hear. And some of this music this is the first time that I've heard it. So it's very powerful for me personally to hear, the words come alive to Andrea's music. And thank you to Barbara and to Mario for your beautiful performances. It was really lovely. And thank you to all the background staff who's made this possible also. So as far as our collaborative process, it was, as Andrea said, I would commute to Mikisita. I live in Taos, which is not too far away. So I would commute to spend time with her. And we would, well, actually, let me back up a little bit, because when I was doing the research and then moving from doing research and collecting ideas for the poetry, and sorry, there's a little bit of back echo. I don't know if you hear that or not.
Okay. If I turn off my mic, that might help.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So as I write the poetry, one of the things that Andrea had shared with me is that I should think about singing the words as I was writing it. And so that was interesting for me as a poet to consider. I'm always considering the sound of the words that I'm using and the musicality of the words, but this was a little different because I was thinking about vocalization through a singing voice. And so that affected the way that I was writing. Andrea instructed me to especially pay attention to the vowel sounds. And so that was something that came into play also in terms of our collaboration, because later on, because as she was setting the words to music, there were particular words that we would think around, trying to find just the right word that would convey the meaning that was intended, but with the musicality that would work with the notes. So that was really interesting for me.
Definitely us too. I think that last little bit, that everything on, over and in, the land belongs together, was a great way to close out, and it just brought the whole thing together. So I really, really enjoyed that. Sorry, that's not a question. Yeah, audience, does anybody have a question for our performers, for our composer, for our lyricist, for everything? It was such an exciting, I know, like, it was a little bit of a stunned silence afterwards. And that's always a magical thing when you have a performance and everybody's just at the end, that you can't even applaud. So I hope that you at home felt that as well, that just that last breath. Well, that is the end of our Q&A. I want to thank you both so much for this presentation, for this astounding performance, for being here, both of you, and for our performers also. This was a really magical experience to be a part of. Yes.
It's not a question. I just want to make sure that people know that you will have a chance to come back and listen to this again if you want. We will post the link on the Bloedel website, and it will be on the Bloedel YouTube channel as soon as we can get that up in a few days, so that you can. I want to hear it over and over, so you can too.
Thank you so much. So on behalf of Bloedel Reserve, on behalf of BEMA, thank you all for being here, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Kate and Quincy and Amy and everybody involved, and of course the wonderful performers, Barbara and Mario. Thank you.
All right, so,